Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahawa Gajur. But first are the headlines. At least 9 killed in mall stampede in Kampala, Uganda. Seaweed farming is empowering women in Kenya. And CNN names Uganda among the best destinations to visit in 2023. In our sports news today, Brazil prepares for Pele's funeral. Once again, thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. We start with one of our top stories. At least 9 people died, most aged between 10 and 20, in a shopping mall crash as revelers rang in the new year in Uganda's capital, according to Uganda police.
According to the Deputy National Police spokesperson Luke Oyesjire, the fireworks outside the Freedom City Mall in Kampala, a stampede ensued, resulting in the instant deaths of 5 people and injuries to several others. He added that 4 others died on their way to hospital, largely due to suffocation. Oyesjire said that emergency responders arrived on the scene and transported the injured individuals to the hospital, where 9 were confirmed dead. The celebrations to welcome in 2023 were the first in the East African country in 3 years after restrictions linked to the COVID-19 pandemic and security issues. Kampala police spokesperson Patrick Onyango told the media that most of the dead were juveniles ages 10, 11, 14 and 20. One of the survivors, a businesswoman Sylvia Nakalema, said that the stampede started when they went to view the fireworks on the platform and while returning downstairs.
Apart from that, seaweed farming is providing Kenyan women with means to earn a living. The activity is also seen as an alternative to fishing due to a decline in fish stocks and a less risky activity than farming. We have more on this report.
Since farming on the dry land is expensive and requires different types of fertilizers that may be water-based and thus need to be sprayed onto plants or applied in soil, the use of chemical fertilizers has led to soil degradation, thus leading to reduced yields. Therefore, seaweed farming is the better option as farmers are able to reap benefits. The project is mostly supported by Kenya Marine Fisheries and Research Institute, a national research institute promoting the sustainable development of the blue economy. Nasro, a field officer from the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, said that the yields from farming on the dry land are not great since there are many challenges such as invasions from the wild animals and thieves. Most of the raw materials produced by the group are exported to markets in South Africa, the US and China. Extracts from dried seaweed can be used in the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries as well as fertilizers.
Away from that, US television channel CNN has ranked Uganda as one of the best destinations to visit in the year 2023. According to CNN, it would be a missed opportunity if a traveler didn't visit Uganda, which has a lot to offer. According to CNN, from the expansive shores of Lake Victoria to the snowy Rwenzori Mountains, Uganda is a beautiful wilderness playground with opportunities for adventure, including treks through the windy, impenetrable forest or up to the craters of the Virunga volcano chain or whitewater rafting along the Victoria Nile. CNN said there is a considerable change brewing in Uganda's travel offerings at the moment, with the country christened the Pearl of Africa, now looking beyond the traditional staples of safari and wildlife sporting to appeal to both regional and international visitors. They say apart from offering wealthy visitors a glimpse of the big 5 beasts or mountain gorillas, Uganda has turned to marketing its other unique attributes. Uganda recently realigned its identity as the most ideal travel destination in the world, not for just tourists but travelers in general to experience the uniqueness and diversity the East African country offers. Uganda has also presented itself as the best destination for hosting international conferences, meetings, and events. Well, thank you so much, your reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with international news. Welcome back for the break. You're watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, South Sudan announced on the deployment of 750 soldiers to eastern DRC. Heavy fighting in recent months between DRC forces and M23 rebels prompted the East African community to deploy a joint regional force that includes forces from Kenya, Burundi, and Uganda.
At a ceremony in the capital Juba, South Sudanese President Salva Kiir urged the soldiers to keep the order and protect civilians. Salva Kiir, President of South Sudan, said that since they are an organized force and are going to keep the peace even though they are not wearing a blue helmet, which is usually worn by UN peacekeeping forces, the helmet that they are wearing will change into blue, and it will change according to their performance that they are going for. South Sudanese Minister of Defense and Veterans, Angelina Teny, said that since they became independent, this is the first mission for them to be part of in order to bring peace to the region, and that is very important because in their country, they have peacekeepers to keep and the peace for them, and they are going to bring stability, peace, and bring total peace to the Congo and all their borders. The announcement of the deployment came barely 4 months after thousands of fighters, including former rebels loyal to Kiir and his rival, Vice President Riek Machar, were integrated into South Sudanese army, a key condition of a peace deal to end the country's brutal civil war.
Moving on in international news, Zimbabwe has banned all lithium exports after the government said it was losing 1.7 billion euros from exporting it as a raw material and not processing it into batteries in the country. A reporter followed up this story. Lithium is so valuable as a component of electronic batteries, mostly for cars, mobile phones, and computers, that it's known as white gold. The price has gone up by 1,100% in the past 2 years alone. Zimbabwe has the largest amount of the mineral in Africa and has enough of it to supply a fifth of the world's needs, according to the government sources. Whilst it's on track to become one of the world's largest lithium exporters, the government say that it should start its own battery industry rather than allow foreign companies to dominate battery production. If it succeeds, it will mark a sea change for Zimbabwe's economy. Like many other mineral-rich African states, it has allowed its raw materials to be extracted by multinationals for decades without developing local industries that could process them and create many jobs. The Zimbabwean Ministry of Mines and Mining Development said it would also clamp down on the artisanal miners digging up lithium and smuggling the mineral across borders. Away from that, an arrest warrant was issued in Botswana for former President Ian Khama for the possession of illegal firearms. The judge issued orders that Mr. Khama should be arrested on sight.
The former leader of Botswana, Ian Khama, is believed to be in South Africa, where he went into a self-imposed exile in November 2021. Mr. Khama left office in 2018 after 2 5-year terms. The arrest warrant follows Khama's failure to appear in court earlier this year. He faced 14 charges, including allegations of money laundering and handling stolen property. The warrant issued only regards the possession of 5 illegal firearms. Under Botswana law, illegal possession of guns could lead to a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. In the past, Ian Khama, the son of Botswana's first president, told local media house Maggie that he would welcome an extradition request since it would give him the chance to expose what he called lies and fabrications by the current president Mokgweetsi Masisi. Khama had respected the ruling Botswana People's Party, BDP, tradition of handing over power to his successor Masisi a year to the 2019 general elections. He, however, clashed with Masisi months after stepping down over certain policy positions and ultimately backed opposition candidates in the national elections.
The Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara has assured his people that the 46 Ivorian soldiers detained in Mali for nearly 6 months and who have just been sentenced to the 20 years in prison in Bamako will soon return in Ivorian soil. While delivering his end-of-year speech broadcast on national television, The Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara said that his thoughts are particularly with their soldiers detained in Mali since 10th July. He thanked leaders of several friendly countries, including the President of Togolese Republic, for their diplomatic actions where 3 female soldiers were released last September. The 46 Ivorian soldiers suspected of being mercenaries held in Mali since July were sentenced on Friday to 20 years in prison before the expiry of the ultimatum set by West African heads of state to the Malian junta to release them. They were found guilty of attacking and plotting against the government, undermining the external security of the state. Possession, carrying and transporting weapons and munitions of war with the aim of disturbing public order through intimidation or terror at the end of the 2-day trial in Bamako. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Talking matters business in South Africa, electricity load shedding forces companies to scale back just as the country was recovering from COVID-19 health crisis. Cities such as Johannesburg struggle with an overburdened power grid and failing infrastructures. Our reporter followed up this story.
2022 has been one of the worst years for South Africans in terms of power cuts. The country was prey to more than 200 days of load shedding as state-owned Eskom, which supplies more than 90% of the country's electricity, failed to produce enough power. After a lull over Christmas, power cuts are slowly resuming. The downturn is due to ill-managed, aging coal-fired power stations that regularly break down. In addition, these blackouts are having a direct impact on the economy and growth, just as the country was recovering from the COVID-19 health crisis. Many companies such as KFC have been forced to scale back due to the load shedding. In Johannesburg, electricity cuts in combination with the persistent rain has the city struggling with an overburdened grid and failing infrastructure. The Eastern Cape has also witnessed high volumes of electricity interruptions. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy signed 13 new power generation agreements to bring close to 1,800 megawatts online over the next few years in an attempt to remedy the current energy crisis.
In Africa Today Health, in Togo, where 2/3 of products come from China, news of China reopening its borders to the world has been welcomed by local traders. China will scrub its COVID-19 quarantine for overseas arrivals, a measure starting January 8, 2023, after 3 years of tight restrictions. According to the General Manager of International Business Strategy, a China Tourism Group Travel Service Corporation, the number of calls to inquire about overseas travel has increased in the country. However, if the excitement is real, so is the caution in Togo. According to Abdul and his brothers, who are businessmen, they used to go on business trips 3 to 4 times a year in the world's second economy, China. But when the pandemic hit, they had to come up with alternatives. They say that when China closed its borders, they would order their goods via social media services like WhatsApp or WeChat, but the goods were not of good quality. Another trader added that it's good news for them to go back to China to check and make what he wants by himself and other traders. Togo imported goods from China worth $442 million in 2020, according to the World Bank. Starting from January 8th, travelers to China will have to provide a negative PCR test taken within 48 hours before boarding to enter the country. Current policy requires 5 days of quarantine at a centralized facility, followed by 3 days at home. In sports news today, preparations for the funeral ceremony of football legend Pelé are underway in Brazil. Dignitaries and fans will gather at the Vila Belmiro Stadium in Santos to pay last respect to the king of football.
Big crowds are expected to converge in the city and surrounding area that is home to almost 2 million people for what is expected to be a deeply emotional ceremony. The Brazilian Football Federation has erected a huge poster of Pelé outside its headquarters with the message "Eternal Portuguese for Eternal" written above it. A tent where Pelé's remains will be placed has been erected in the center of the pitch at the Vila Belmiro Stadium. Pelé, the Brazilian king of soccer who won a record 3 World Cups and became one of the most commanding sports figures of the last century, died in a Sao Paulo hospital last Thursday after battling colon cancer. He was 82. Pelé's funeral date has been revealed as Tuesday, and his coffin will be placed on Santos Beach before being paraded past his band-bound mom's house.
Thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We should keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.